There we are. All right. Little different setup tonight. Why is that so dark now all of a sudden? Oh, there we go. Good evening. I don't know. I won't be able to tell who all's on because I don't have my Facebook stuff on. We are sitting out in front of at Mercy Hospital. We've going to see one of our church members who has been in the hospital while we were down here seeing our grandson and new grandson, and everybody's good, but we were having to adjust since we were coming down to see him anyway. Since the church, or we decided to cancel church service, so I came down, and by the time we got all the cattle fed and ice busted and everything and got down here, the time was running short. So with the weather like it was, I know we had one person at least show up, no, maybe two, that showed up at the church. We tried to get the word out, and I know we don't hardly ever cancel services, so a little bit unique situation. But anyway, I do apologize if you got out there and wondered where we were. So I'm just gonna do the service a little different. Obviously, I'm sitting here in the car. For those of you that are just coming on, we went and saw our new grandson. Mama is our son and daughter-in-law. She's doing great. Baby's doing great. We'll get lots of pictures up here pretty soon, but it was pretty awesome to see him already eating good and just doing what babies are supposed to do. Then we came and saw one of the church members from the Carrier Church that's been in the hospital a while down here. So just made a good trip out of it. But I want to share just a little bit from the Word. This morning I went into, and I don't even have a Bible with me. Got in the car that I thought we had one in here and didn't realize it. But Psalms 139. Some of you who watched the High Call Ministry Facebook with me this morning, we went to Psalms 139, and those verses talk about how God is with us, how He knows us, He hears us when we pray, and we just know that we have a God who's He's there for us and He's there with us. But one of the things that stands out to me is the fact that it really demonstrates His omniscience and omnipresence. I mean, He's not affected by everything that we're affected by. But yet, when Jesus came to the earth, he came as a man so that He would experience everything that we experience. And so, He does understand. He can relate, and that's what's so incredible. But He can handle all of our issues, problems, be there with us in the good things and the bad things, regardless of how many there are of us. And so when you think about God in that light, that He has no limitations, we ought to be able to experience a level of faith that really jumps, it really increases. And I want to challenge you tonight to have a faith and a trust in God that just transcends all the limitations that maybe you face, but remember that we're tapped into a God like that. If you think about it, I remember a few times, there's one trip that multiple trips, but a couple of times where Sue and I, when we were first in ministry, we were youth pastors and of a church over in Stillwater, and we joined with another friend of mine who was also a youth pastor, and both our churches were about the same size. We had about 25 to 30 in our youth groups, And we would take them on a float trip every year over to the Illinois River over by McAllister, or not McAllister, over in the northeastern part of the state. And we would take them floating down the river in canoes, and we didn't ever think to use rafts. We always used canoes. Well, that just meant that you had kids that didn't know how to paddle a canoe. And if you've ever been on a river in a canoe, there were times there was some fairly fast water, but most of the time it's pretty easy. But you just have to learn to balance. You have to learn how to row, back and forth from side to side to keep you going down the right direction. And it was always a lot of fun. I look back on it, and as a 25, 26-year-old, I never thought about a lot of the dangers of taking a bunch of teenagers on the river. I think back on it now, and I'm like, man, it's like 6 adults taking about 50 to 60 kids. At one time, we had about 30 canoes that we're trying to keep on a 12-mile all-day float, and trying to keep everybody safe, everybody together. And so we'd put somebody at the front, one of the adults or two at the front, and then some of us would stay in the back, and we just make sure they stayed between us. But anyway, during that time, it was tough to keep track of those kids. And you think with that in comparison to how God can see our lives, I mean, He sees everything that we're doing, and then some. He sees everything that we're doing, and not just what we're doing right now, but He knows our days. He knows what we're going to say before we say it. He knows where our life came from, and He knows where it's going. He can be right here in our moments, the moments of life, and He can also be preparing, and is also preparing for us to go wherever it is that He's going to take us. And so just thinking about how great God is, how big He is, it kind of helps me sometimes realize that He's never wringing His hands over what am I going to do. He's never sitting there worried, pacing the floor, thinking, I just don't know if we're going to make it this time. He's already got a plan in place. And that's one of the pieces of the verses in those first 6 verses where it talks about that. It talks about that He knows where we're going. He knows all of those things. So my challenge to you, and my challenge to me on a regular basis, is to stay in step with Him. Just flow with Him. Trust Him. Not only trust Him and sit back, but also trust Him that He's going to show you what your part is. I'm using the radio spots that I've been teaching and writing these out, and they're going to be daily devotions eventually. They're going to be probably blogs on the website, things like that. But right now they're just, I'm writing them out so that I can speak them and read them and put them on that radio on those little 2 and 3 minute spots. But part of what I'm always doing is I'm always hopefully motivating people to a better life. I'm encouraging you. I'm bringing hope through the Word of God. And that's what I want to do tonight, is just really challenge you to put your faith in God. Put your trust in a God who is without limit. I was having a conversation earlier today with someone, and we were just talking about just some ministry things, about where things could go, what things could, what we need to do in some areas and some things. And I said, I don't really know exactly in the situation we were talking about, but I said, I know that I don't have a direction of change. I don't have, the clarity to do anything else but just keep doing what I'm doing. And as I was thinking through what I was going to say to you tonight, I want you to see how big God is, but I also hope that you will just, unless directed otherwise, keep doing the good things that you're doing. God absolutely sees you. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it, maybe, but just continue to be faithful, continue to remain doing what you're doing. Sometimes if we see inaction in God or in our situation, or something's not happening, we tend to want to be too quick to adjust and change. But persistence and tenacity is a trait that God gives us to enable us to be effective and really to overcome. Part of our overcoming, in other words, our walking in the victory that God gave us, part of that is just a tenacity and a persistence to stick to what we're doing until we know otherwise. Keep standing on the Word. Sometimes it doesn't happen quick, but just keep standing on the Word. Think about a weed. You need to ask God, give me the determination and the tenacity of a weed. What do weeds do? Weeds, they grow where nothing else will. They can sprout in the crack in the sidewalk. They can grow in the midst of a drought. They can reproduce and produce when all other crops fail. There'll be weeds out there just succeeding. Sometimes we need that kind of persistence and tenacity, that we're just going to stick to what we're doing. And that's one of the reasons I went ahead and came on here tonight. I really thought about not even having a broadcast tonight. I thought, but I told my wife, I said, I've been 4 years doing this, or 4.5, I guess, and I've never missed a broadcast. We've always had one. If I was gone, somebody else did it, but we always had one. And I hope that you see that. I don't want us to, even though we had family things that needed to be done and taken care of, even though there's a lot going on, I value you and the ministry and what God is doing. So I just want you to take that and run with that. Just be consistent, persistent, and serve God with a tenacity that says, I'm not going to give up, not going to quit, I'm not going to change unless God says change. I'm not going to separate myself from God's blessing by not being a good steward, or I'm not going to quit pursuing God just because I don't see something change. So I just encourage you with those words. I hope you can grab hold of something there, and I hope that you can put your hope, your faith, and your trust in God. As right before I came on the air, we walked out of the hospital here and walked down to the car, and Sue said, well, what are you going to say? And I said, I don't know. You just hit the live button and start talking and trust that God's going to say, well, I had a little bit of an idea. But sometimes that's a demonstration of our faith. We don't always have all the answers. We don't always know exactly how God's going to do it or what God's going to do. But if we learn to trust Him, we learn to know that He is not limited like we are. I'm going to trust Him. You can just take that step and step out in faith and trust Him. So be blessed tonight. I just encourage you with those words. I hope this is going out and people are receiving it. Again, I apologize if somebody didn't get the memo that we weren't having church tonight. The roads and stuff were good, but the parking lot was kind of a mess, and it was going to be so extremely cold. By the start of the service, I was just the elders and I, we just talked about it and thought it'd be better to err on the side of safety and keep people home and not on that potential slick parking lot. And the building's awfully hard to get warmed up in that kind of weather too, and when it's that cold. So anyway, have a blessed time. Again, our son had his son, so the first Cronkite grandbaby. We'll have pictures and stuff posted up pretty quick. He was 8 pounds 6 ounces, 22 inches long. I know all the mothers and grandmothers are out there wondering all the details. And his name's Shepherd Hayes Cronkite, so probably call him Shep. And it's a pretty cool name, I think. Just maybe prophesying to him being a pastor. Who knows? We can make him a cowboy and a pastor. That'd be awesome. Anyway, you guys have a blessed evening, and we love y'all, and we will see you next Tuesday. Oh, by the way, I got word today the parking lot is going to get re-graveled. That's starting really, really soon, so that'll be a real major blessing. So look forward to that. Be blessed and love y'all, and we will see you soon.